Quinn.
Hey, buddy.
Good to see you, man.
You too, man.
It's been 4 years since the last podcast that you were active police officer. You were detective at the time, right?
Yeah.
And we did the podcast. We talked about your history about riding in the San Fernando Valley and growing up and how things have changed. And now recently we were at Escondido.
I love the way you
say it with me. And I saw that now you're collaborating with BMW. You're the brand ambassador for BMW. Before we get into catching up, how do you introduce yourself? I mean, you were bomb squad, you were detective, you were police officer.
Oh, I think for all that, I was a cop for X amount of years, a little under 20 years. I was a cop. I think that's the easy, I don't know how many people really care to hear my diatribe of, well, I did this and I did that, and the older I get, the more I'll probably throw all that in there. You talk to anybody who was a cop 40 years ago, and they'll give you the long list of stuff they did, because saying you were a cop is like saying, well, I was a doctor. Well, it's like, well, what, were you an ear, nose, and throat guy? Were you a brain surgeon? Were you a podiatrist? What, a chiropractor? So,
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is, the older you get, the better you were. Back in my days, and when I was a cop, and we used to do this.
And there's less people to call bullshit on it.
But that's true. Yeah. But I think there is some truth to it nowadays. 'Cause like our time versus the back in our days. You really had to know how to jumpstart a car or siphon your parents' car, which was an interview that I was listening to yours of Rider Magazine. And you would siphon gas at the age of 7, 8 years old to get your motorcycles going. Yeah, well,
so you learn how to do that, and you learn the hard way. And I will tell you, I've swallowed more than one full mouthful of gasoline, which at 9, 10 years old, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And pardon the pun, but you definitely learn one of two things. Get a longer hose or get a clear hose.
Yeah.
Clear hose is always useful.
Where'd you get your hoses back then, by the way?
I think they were just either old garden hoses. I may have, for all I know, I can't remember.
Hose?
Yeah, I may have pulled the garden hose off, thrown the water out, really did a bad job. And my bike probably had water in it. When you're 10 years old, I barely remember cleaning the air filters on those things back then.
Yeah.
And it's funny now, I was joking with a friend of mine, because now I have these vintage bikes that go out once every couple months at most. And they're meticulously managed. This thing, I'll look at it and be like, maybe it needs this, because I have more time and money to tinker with it than I do time to go ride it. But back then, I just ride every day after school, and I didn't maintain the damn thing. I had an 81 RM125, and I realized it was called, the air filter system was called a Twin Air.
Yeah.
Okay, it had 2 air boxes.
Yeah.
And anyone that had, I think 81s, 82s, they had, and maybe 83s, they had this double air box. Well, I didn't even understand that. So I only ever cleaned one air filter. Yeah. And then when I sold it, somebody's like, dude, this air filter.
It's fucked up.
I was like, oh, there's an air filter over there.
I had no idea.
That's how ridiculous, but nowadays, I'll clean it just to clean it, and it's clean from the last time I didn't ride it, so.
Do you think there's something there? Because I was very irresponsible with my bikes growing up. I didn't service them and take care of them as much, but they fucking ran great.
I don't feel like
the trick.
I don't feel like it was an irresponsibility, because I loved my motorcycles more than anything. I think it's just, and I even see it today. I'll go look at somebody that's look at a bike, somebody selling a bike, and I'll look at their attention to detail, and it's just not there. I'll look at a bike and I'll be like, I could clean that thing. And I don't just mean pressure wash it, but I like to get in with toothbrushes. And when you start taking parts apart, take the wheels off, take the seat and tank and fenders and pipe, it gives you access to cleaning other aspects of the motorcycle. So I'm a big fan of taking things apart, and when you do take them apart, clean the hell out of them, put them on a little brass wire wheel so that you really, I get stupid, because this space is my, I put some music on, I shut the door, and my wife and kid know, oh, Dad's, in La La Land, and this is my little time machine. So I'll spend time in here, and back then I just wanted to ride, So I think it was a lack of real attention to detail as a kid, and I just wanted to go riding. So,
and I'll cut into my phone so we can get you talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah, so right now, as far as, I'm a big vintage motocross fan, and I have a KX500. That's vintage, but it's not really technically vintage. Guys that have old CZs and Makos would say, that guy needs to shut up. That's not a vintage bike. This is an 81 YZ465. And again, racing, that's technically not vintage. It's post-vintage. This is a YZ490. This is an old SC500 Yamaha, a 74. So that's vintage, technically. But everything else in a modern KTM.
Shit, we're vintage.
Yeah, we're vintage, man. Absolutely.
We're vintage.
That picture was at Glen Helen. There's a club called OSSRG, Old School Scrambles Racing. Really cool group of people. Older group. The tracks aren't so rough. It's the truck track at Glen Helen, and I would race open expert. A vintage open expert, post-vintage open expert. But I would also race it in modern class because on a track that's not that technical, that's a modified YZ465. So it's fast, and if it's a question of racing against a modern bike that doesn't have big jumps on the track, I'm right there and I don't need to slow down. So you can move out pretty good on an old bike if the tracks aren't crazy technical.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun.
So what moves you? I mean, currently, now at this age, you're retired from the police.
Yeah.
You're training these classes, but that's a job. You love your job. Outside of the bikes,
well, so
I heard you were a master gun instructor. What do you call it?
Well, so that's back to the police stuff. So when I was, the thing you'll learn anybody that is a cop, was a cop. If you're proficient at one aspect of your job, and really I think this goes for any kind of business, they'll pull you into all other things, So I was a motor, and you'll find motors, for whatever reason, do a lot of sort of technical collateral stuff. They'll be in the chopper unit, EVOC instructors, so that's emergency driving.
Yeah.
So I was an EVOC instructor. I got on the SWAT team. I became a sniper on our SWAT team. I became a firearms instructor. As a sniper, so you have to qualify on a SWAT team for proficiency, both physically and your marksmanship. Well, when you're a sniper, you have to go to a specific sniper school that's kind of an elevated, granted you're shooting a bolt gun, a rifle with a scope, but there's a level of proficiency with marksmanship that is expected as a sniper. So it would make sense too, though, that your snipers are generally your better marksmen. They should be, right? Because then oftentimes they got Overwatch and they're shooting over other team members. So they need to know you can shoot well and you're not going to take anybody's, take them out. But because of that, I became a firearms instructor and a range master. And so now you're qualifying people and all that stuff. But that being said,
that just goes hand in hand.
Yeah, that goes hand in hand. But I would say this too. If you took every cop at a department, the variance in skill, while it's pretty great, the top 10% are all pretty damn good, And at the end of the day, you really don't know how it's one thing for me to sit on a firing line and outshoot you, but when the shit hits the fan and the sky is falling, who knows? You might be 10 times better than me because you can just think better and work through problems better. And I start losing my shit and I start going condition black and don't shoot well, whatever. So really, it's one thing to say, well, Bruce shoots better than Steve at the firing range.
Right.
Okay, well,
that doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't mean shit, right? So I was a firearms instructor, but some of these guys, that are tactical dudes and been in combat, I would walk behind those guys, with, I'm just a cop. I'm not on the SWAT team. I'm not a firearms instructor. Oh, but I have military combat experience. Yeah, you're a badass. Let's follow you. Let's 100%. Do what you think. And we'll look at my cool certifications later. But so getting out of the police stuff definitely stepped me really footlong into the motorcycle space because I kind of bit off two things at once. The BMW deal and the BMW deal thing was, I'm the brand ambassador for BMW, but what that means is I go to trade shows for BMW, representing their motorcycles, so the police authority thing. Then I train motor officers going from a Harley platform to a BMW platform.
When you train, people are hiring BMW and you're the instructor they send out, or you train privately additionally?
I do both. Yeah. So, for example, in Canada, in the United States, you're an agency and you guys just bought a fleet of BMWs and you were a Harley agency. They will send me out there to transition their key instructors, teach them how to move from a Harley to a BMW.
Right.
This is not a sales pitch. This isn't, the Harley's not good at X, Y, and Z, and the Beamer's better. Like, the sales pitch is done, right? Each bike has picadillos. They're different. The Harley is fantastic at certain things. The BMW is fantastic at certain things. I need to educate you on what that transition looks like. In the United States, BMW pays for that. In Canada, it's a separate deal. So Toronto Police Services bought a fleet of BMWs, and they said, hey, we want to be trained on these things. Well, BMW doesn't offer that. So in that case, they reached out to me, and I have my own separate training that I do, police motor training with Quinn Redeker. So they hired Quinn Redeker, the individual, and I flew out to Toronto and trained them. It's the same thing.
Right.
But in the United States, BMW pays me up there.
You're independent.
Yeah, I'm just independent up there. So it's a little bit different. The gig is the same. It's just, the money is, they got to pay me directly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the pieces of the gig, which is a lot of fun. And then I'll also, let's just say you're an agency that's interested in maybe looking at BMWs. Then they'll pay me to come out, show you the bike. I'll do a presentation. We'll hang out at your training day. I might ride patterns with you, and just show you the difference between the bikes. Yeah. I have huge respect for Harley Davidson, and the guys that run Harley Davidson, like the reps that are out in the field, are great friends of mine. And when we go to an event and that event's happening and I'm there and they're there, we're hanging out. You
guys bust each other's balls.
It's exactly. Well, definitely we do talk a lot of shit, but
that's part of the love. Love hurts.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, we're all cops, so that's kind of, and I will say that's probably one of my favorite things about this job with BMW is motor cops, and I can't give you all the whys, but being a detective, being SWAT, being just a patrol cop, and being a motor cop, there's a bond, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a fraternity connected to motor cops that, in my experience personally, I haven't felt in any other facet of law enforcement. And I don't know if it's because if you've been a motor cop for 2-3 years, you've almost been taken out by 200 different people driving to work or whatever, not paying attention. So we've all survived. Right. So we all, but as police officers, we have that shared experience. But as motor cops, we also have sort of a different level of shared experience. And I love motor cops. They're immediately smart asses. As once they know you're part of the club, they will bust your balls, and they're good at it. And they're all good at it.
Yeah.
And they're all just dicks in a way that just makes you laugh, because I'll tell you a short story. So I went out to Pennsylvania State Patrol. They have a drill team. Drill team is different than just motor cop. Yeah. These guys are a little elevated in their skills. They do specific training. They're the ones, if you've ever seen, back in, it seems like I've seen videos from like the 20s and 30s and 40s where you'll have like a row of 10 motor guys, and they'll come at each other at an angle and just rip right through each other and like keep going. It looks pretty simple, but when you're there and you watch it, you're like, oof, one wrong move by one of them, and you're going to have a lot of broken bones.
Yeah.
So I'm out there, and I walk in, and they have this, it's almost like a frat house. Yeah. You can't, I don't even know if patrol cops can get on the grounds that they train on. Like, I had to, be escorted in through a gate and then into their clubhouse. And it's just got couches and refrigerators and pictures of guys that have been there before you. And they're all sweaty. They've been working, right? And they're all sitting on their couches. And I walk in, and I'm the BMW guy, Not great. I'm from California. Strike two. You know, and
Fuck
so
this guy.
and so I'm just standing there like, hey, hi, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, hey guys,
Fucking
and they're just looking at
tan.
me, and they're all and these guys are salty fuckers, and they're all with their buddies, and all of them, I'm watching all of them politely bite their tongue, but you can see it's like, you know, when somebody looks at you and you want to be like, what, because you know they're thinking something.
Yeah.
All these fuckers are just tearing into me in their heads,
right.
and you can just see it, you can feel it. And but they didn't know me. They you know, they didn't want to be dicks, right? So the next day comes and I'm there, and then it starts happening, and they just start fucking tearing into me. And I realized, and this was one of the first gigs with BMW since I retired that I had, and I realized how much I loved that.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to start fucking with you like that, we're friends.
Absolutely.
I like you. We're cool, you know? So as soon as you get that, people might not appreciate because, you know, it needs to be an inclusive society. No, these guys started fucking tearing into me and they were laughing and I fucking loved it, you know? And then my presentation, they all come out, they're all looking at the bike and I started my presentation. I said, hey, listen, just important while we get going, if you don't remember anything that I say, all of you, just pay attention to this. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I just went around and I just started.
Gave everybody their fuck you.
And they were quiet for a second. And then they all just started laughing. And one of the guys is like, all right, fuck you. You're all right. You're all right. You know, and ever since then, I realized there's something about these particular men and women that I connect with. And it's motorcycles, yes, it's police work, but there's a certain sort of sharpness and edginess to them that I identify and connect with. So having the opportunity with BMW to get to do that, you know, I went up to Seattle, saw the Seattle PD motors, and they're like that. I go down to Florida, I go over to Texas, I go to Virginia. They're all like that.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a positive way. And whether it's at a motor comp or just at an agency, and that's different, you know. And even LAPD, I went down and hung out at the Coliseum. Their drill team, there's 30 guys, and they're fuckers, you know. Yeah. They're sharp, smart, nice, capable, smart asses, you know. And so. I don't mean to go on a long thing with that, but I realized in this journey over the last couple of years with BMW, I think, you know, I think I kind of found my people in a weird way. Because I've often said in life that you have situational friends. I got into trials motorcycle riding, and I would meet certain people that also did trials riding. But outside of that, I don't, you know, like they're cool. But I'm probably not calling you if I'm not going trials riding. Right. You know, I ride a unicycle. I've met some other people that ride unicycles. Really? Not really my people. Yeah. Like, I like riding a unicycle, and we'll go ride unicycles together. But, you know, the conversation's ending where the unicycles stop going, you know?
Right.
And motor cops, I've found like, wow. There's yes, all those things, shared experiences and all that. But, like, there's just something about I don't know what the hell that is, you know, there's sensibilities that I'm like, fucking like these people. So they say with police work, you miss the clowns, you don't miss the circus, right? So I still get to hang out with the clowns, which is nice. So
without taking all the risk.
Yeah, I mean,
you're done. You're done with it, but you still get to interact with them. But I feel like what you're saying, to dive deeper into this, it's almost the people that risk their life the most are the most open and most honest and are not so filtered, because everybody else seems very filtered. They want to say the right thing. Yeah. They don't want to disrespect anybody. It seems like I'm almost getting a vibe of like it's the soldiers that have been to war and come back and they're just fucking open. Like, hey, what are you looking at, dickhead? You know, they're just fucking. And if you're gonna get offended at that, like get the fuck out of here. And if you're not, guess what? Love hurts.
Oh, absolutely.
Love hurts, and that's part of it. So, do you think there's because they're like this because they have more risk? Because
I do think there's a piece of that, because if you're a motorcycle rider on the regular, you realize it's fucking dangerous, right?
100 times more dangerous than a car.
Now imagine, and I won't go through the long story, but just imagine now you're doing what you're doing on your motorcycle, but now you're listening to the police radio for crazy shit going on in the city. You're trying to find violations. You might get a hot call and need to go to an active robbery going down. You might need to jump over and save a life, or pull a kid out of a pool, or like all kinds of weird shit. And every time you make a traffic stop, we've all watched videos of somebody comes out guns ablazing. There's more than one motor cop that was immediately gunned down just trying to make a traffic stop for a illegal lane change, and next thing he knows, he's got an AR and he's staring down the barrel and he's getting shot.
Yeah.
So, but the possible scenarios exist for all police officers, right? But for motors, I think...
Well, it's different because you explained it on the last podcast where it's like you're going to pull somebody over. You're listening to everything. You're going to pull somebody over. You're watching the offense, but then you're going to turn on the siren. But then you got to realize, how's the car next to you going to act if they hear the siren?
Yeah.
Is the car in front of you going to accelerate? Is the car in front of you going to brake in front of you? Then you pull over. Then it's like, did you put the kickstand down? Did you not put it down? If this guy's shooting, where are you hiding?
There's like a lot going on.
You traumatized me with that. Like, I was like, fuck.
So I do think there is a lot of that, and I wouldn't say that I wouldn't equate that to friends I know that have been in active firefights, right? But there's definitely a lot more mental math going on day in and day out. I always used to tell new motors, I'd say, listen, if you make a traffic stop, be shocked and surprised that you didn't get in a gunfight, because the probability is you won't. The possibility is every fucking time you will. Right. And the one time that you think probably it won't, it can happen, Yeah. I mean, the thing that always was sobering to me is that you'll see a cop who gets off probation or just off field training, like day one field training, and he gets in some massive gunfire fight and does or does not lose his life. And it's, it's like, they don't walk you into it, It's like, if you're going to go to a race, this is your first race, you're racing pro day one. That gate drops, shit's going to go sideways, right? They're not going to say, oh, it's your first race. All right, everybody, hey, slow down for Ron. This is his first race, all right? Don't slam into him, all right? Let's let him get a trophy today, right? Nobody gives a fuck. A badge is a badge. And if I don't like you, I don't like you. I don't give a fuck who you are, right? It doesn't say badge, day 4. Right. You know what I mean? So that being said, I definitely think that you got to have that mindset, and motor cops engage with the public more often. I mean, depending on how busy you are, you could make 10 to 30 traffic stops a day every day. So that gunfight 30 times a day, cover, concealment, where am I parking, what am I doing, all those things. The first 6 months of motors, you're exhausted. You go home and it's like your brain just like, because you don't want to, it's like, I almost crashed. Like, you think about all the things you're doing,
Almost drop the bike.
Yeah, the coordination of it. Definitely drop the bike, all that stuff. So, but I don't have any of that. So when I drive, I see traffic stops, or I hear my buddies when I'll be somewhere at a motor competition, and they'll be like, oh man, I didn't get to practice yesterday because I had to work overtime at a DUI checkpoint. That part of me is like, whew, man, I don't miss that shit at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I was surprised to find sometimes I'd see a police situation, and I wouldn't get like amped up, but I could tell that it was like there was a little bit of a catching myself tensing up a little bit, which was a surprise because I always thought it was pretty comfortable. But the fact that just seeing it or talking about it or hearing radio chatter makes me like, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have to do any of that. It's nice,
Well, I'm sure you're also thinking about, fuck, man, the cops going out there, you don't know what they know. You don't know if they're trained well enough. You don't know if it's the FNG, the fucking new guy. You start worrying about them because now you're worried about what the call is, and then you're worried about, your team. And you're like, man, I hope they fucking make it. I hope it's all right. I don't have to worry about it anymore, but you still worry about it because it's still family at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that could be one of the factors why motor cops are
a little more bonded.
And it's funny because I always thought cops was the more offensive term, but
dude, the shit we get called.
Fuck,
you want to call me a cop?
Yeah,
call me a cop, man. Like whatever.
I swear to God, true story.
If that's gonna bother you,
yeah,
you do not belong in that job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what would that like? I couldn't even give an example, but that's such a, on the scale of things that could be a problem. What you decide to call me, trying to be respectful in a casual code 4 situation, call me whatever, call me shitbag.
Right.
Just don't try to stab me. Let's not fight. I don't have to deal with you. Shitbag's great. I'm cool with that. Let's go with that and we'll all get on with our fucking day. How about that?
Yeah,
that's kind of, so yeah, that nobody,
right.
Nobody cares,
it
really.
shouldn't. Yeah. True story. Swear to God, 2 days ago, I wake up, I'm getting my 5-year-old ready. I go, what do you want for breakfast? He goes, Pops, I want a police officer diet. And I go, police officer diet? He goes, yeah, I want a donut. And I was like,
shit.
I was like, oh, police, okay.
Right.
You called it that? I'll get you a fucking donut. So I got him a donut. But I liked how he defaulted to that. I was like, random question. Not random because it's based off what we're talking about. When, and then we'll get off the shooting and the fucking negativity and the police thing. But in the shootings that you've heard of, in the shootings, if you've been or haven't been, why does it get to a shooting? Well, I know that's a stupid question.
Well,
but is there always one thing where it's just like illegal or
there's never
drugs?
One thing.
Okay, so
there's never one thing.
Right.
So, boy, that's a big question. How do you get into a shooting? So, the question we want to back up to and ask is, why would my gun be out? Okay? Right. Not every encounter requires my gun getting out. And understand that that's a subjective scenario because depending on who you are and what you think is happening, because so much of police work and so much of criminal statutes have to do with mindset. So if I didn't know I was committing a crime, depending on what it is, right? So you could be mentally incapacitated, mistake of fact. There can be a lot of reasons why you did something that in the stages of it are crime. But based on your understanding at the moment, at the time, and the way you articulated what you thought was happening, it's not a crime, right? So meaning that mindset is everything. Well, so let's say somebody right here is standing there and they're threatening and they're really big and you're 6'10", professional jiu-jitsu guy, and I'm a 78-year-old lady, okay? So I know we're talking about police shootings, but understand that we're both going to perceive that big, scary guy differently. Just his voice could intimidate me and make you be like, yell at me all you want, bro. I'll wrap you up like a Christmas present.
Right.
And as soon as I hear it, I'm terrified, right? And then I see a knife. Well, I've watched a lot of Dateline, right? I'm 78 years old, and my husband, Harold, he was a fireman. And Harold always told me, blah, 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 and be careful, and here's a gun. Harold was a good guy. Sorry to have him go. But I might just grab my gun right now and shoot him and kill him. Right. And I'd be justified. Well, wait a minute. He didn't attack me. Well, what did he say? Well, he just said that I was bad and I deserved to be killed. So did he say he was going to kill you? No. Was he moving toward killing you? No. But he was big and he was loud and I feared for my life, and then he brandished a knife. Maybe I get off. I shot and killed him and he was just shooting his mouth off. Turns out he's just the gardener of the neighbor and he thought we stole his radio that was sitting over there on his lawnmower and he was pissed at you. Right. But I got scared and I shot him. Okay.
Quick question. Did he have the radio on him?
We don't know where the radio is.
Okay, just mixing it up.
So the point in that silly scenario is that a good shoot? Well, yes or no. It's going to take a jury understanding, what did I know? What did I think? What did I understand was happening? My narration, and I guarantee you that the story I told about what was happening, if you isolated that, and you told your story of what was happening, you'd have a very different conversation about how I felt at the time. Was I in immediate danger for my life? All those things. Did I fear for my immediate my immediate welfare in life? And did I think I was about to be killed?
Right.
You'd probably say, nah.
Oh, the guy was bitching.
Right, he was
like
pissing and moaning. He had
pulled out a nail clipper and this crazy old lady shot him.
Exactly.
Right.
So different perspectives, different situations.
Wow.
Good shoot, bad shoot. If you would have shot him, bad shoot. If I shoot him, good shoot. Same time and place, same person saying the same thing to two different people. Good shoot, bad shoot. Okay? No. I'm generalizing, right? And it really is going to come down to the jury and how good your lawyer is. So now we're cops. We go to a situation. We go to deal with this guy. We got a complaint. This guy's causing a disturbance. That's all you get. At the end of the day, too, let me just say this. The dispatchers will do their best to get whatever information they can from whoever's telling the story, right? But it's only as good as the person telling the story. If this old 78-year-old lady was called 911, she'd probably tell a different story than you would.
Right.
So now, once you've been a cop for a while, you realize the story that the dispatcher gets, it's as good as who's telling it, right?
Right.
So it's not accurate. Here's what we hope is accurate: the address. All other bets are off. You know, you're not going to walk in there. The guy might have an AK-47 and he's popping people. Right. And he's taking a break when I roll up to reload. And I don't know what's going on. I went to a disturbance call and I walk in and I get shot and killed. So shame on that dispatcher for not getting me all that information. Meanwhile, I'm laying out, bleeding out, dead. So you learn pretty quick. You don't, there's no such thing as what you're going to, is what you're, it's a this or that. Nah, ignore all that shit.
Right.
This is the address. Park appropriately. Be ready for a gunfight. Depending on how I interact with this guy, I will get into a shooting. So what I would say is, and there are others when it's an active shooter, some guy in the mall is firing rounds. You're going to go in there and dump him. That's the deal. You have to do that. We train for that, right? So a school shooting, you jump in, you fucking put yourself in there, and if you're going to get shot, you're going to get shot, but you signed on. You just fucking go. You go. You know, if your partner gets dropped, you go over your partner and you keep moving. Like you just stopped the threat, right?
Yeah.
Think of all those little kids in there, right?
Yeah.
That's what you signed on for. And you trained for it. So it's not a question of you needing to do mental math. What should we do here? We already did the math on that. We already trained for that. You go. So that's different. But you say, so in my estimation, in my opinion, one of the challenges with police work is you end up with a lot of fucking agitated people. And those agitated people, if not managed properly, can turn into a shooting, for sure. That's not to say that people don't, I used to say, so they'd say, as a sniper, are you willing to shoot somebody? I mean, we got to know where's your head at, because we're talking about going to a call, putting your scope on somebody's cranial vault, being ready to dump them. And I'm sitting there in the, in the turret of our armored vehicle, and I'm ready to dump this person. If this, then that. And you've worked through a lot of that stuff. But I always said, I'm not shooting this person. They're getting themselves shot. And there's a difference there. So in my mind, and you can say what you want about that, but in my mind, I know what those thresholds are for me to pull the trigger on my sniper rifle. And if you meet those things, if you do A, B, and C, I will do D. This is what it looks like. But I'm not going to create the scenario all on my own that gets you dumped. That being said, police have been criticized with absolutely showing up, riling up a situation, getting somebody agitated, or simply getting in their space so immediately that they create an exigency and then they have to take action. And I've done that.
So I've been detained in 3 different countries. Okay. Right. Neither of them have I been handcuffed. Very politely, hey, I was in Cuba and I was flying a drone. I don't know why. I was like, I'm going to fly a drone over a communist island on the main strip because it was my first trip in Cuba and I had just traveled from Russia and I got there. So now I have a U.S. passport with a Russian stamp and I'm flying a drone through the Malecón of Cuba from the inside of a 1954 Pontiac, right?
Nice.
I don't know how, but they knew what car I was in. They watched everything.
Right.
They pulled me over. The police officer ran next to the car and he looked at me and he goes, Like, he looked at me like he was in trouble. He's like, please, bring down that drone right now. Bring it down. And I was like, okay. I was going to like launch it into the ocean, right?
Right.
So I bring it down, and then he goes, okay, I'm going to jump in my police car. You guys stay in your car. Follow me to the police station, and we'll talk. And no handcuffs, or nothing. Went to the police station. I was there for 8 hours.
What?
8 hours, but free, in and out. I was able to walk out, smoke a cigar, come in, whatever, go to the liquor store.
What the hell? 8 hours?
I called the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. Embassy was still there before they had that whole hearing thing going on. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
So I called the U.S. Embassy. They're like, you flew a drone in Havana, Cuba on the Malecon. That is, you're going to jail. And we can't do nothing till you go to jail. And once you're in jail, we're very limited on what you can, getting you out. And I'm like, but you're going to jail.
That's great. Hey, listen, man, unfortunately, I can't help you till you go to jail.
Yeah.
And then once you go to there, I really can't help you.
Yeah. No, literally, that's what they were saying. So I was there for 8 hours, back and forth, never handcuffed, never arrested, never anything. But I was speaking to their Secret Service, I was speaking to their generals, and they were asking me my passport, and then my mother's political stance, and It was insane. After 8 hours...
They didn't want you to learn, they didn't want to learn how to fly the drone, I guess. No.
That was hilarious. So a guy was taking a picture of the drone, like, all lab coat and stuff, and I go, you want me to turn it on? And everybody at the same time screamed, no! Like it was a bomb. It was insane. Anyways, they said, look, we're going to hang on to the drone. You're free to go. We know what hotel you're staying at. Once you leave Cuba, we'll just pick up the drone and get out. And the last day, I pick up the drone. I go to the airport. When I go to the airport, they don't even have computers in the airport. It's all paper, right?
Okay.
So I walk through the little door thing, and I give the lady my passport. And she looks at my passport, and she goes, oh, hold on one second. Going through the paperwork, and she goes, oh, wait there, and she dials a number, and two guys come, and they physically lock the fucking doors. There's no automatic buttons. They lock me in there for 2 minutes. A detective comes out, walks me in. He goes, hey, Roberto, come on in. We start talking in Spanish. He goes, oh, your mom left before Fidel Castro. I'm like, oh, fuck, this is, who knows what this is going to be, right? Anyways, they go, we're just going through your luggage. We're making sure you took the drone with you and you didn't leave it on the island. ... How was your stay? Blah, blah, blah. Wonderful. And that's it. And they found the drone. They let me take it. And that was it. Amazing.
Nice.
But the point was, I was never handcuffed. I was never thrown into a car. I was never into the floor, whatever the case is.
Right.
I was in Armenia. Same thing. Armenia, I'm just walking, minding my own business. And I had a pocket knife. And this one guy in Armenia is like, hey, something. And I'm like, what? And he goes, and I see he's pointing. I'm like, yeah, pocket knife. He goes, ugh. And then the military and the police and all these people come. And I'm like, what's going on? And then, my ex, she comes out. She was at a store. She's like, what's going on? And they're like, hey, you can't bring a knife and this, that. And I go, what's going on? They're like, they're calling a police car. You're going to jail. I was like, I've seen people with machine guns and bazookas, and there's tanks right behind you guys.
And you got a pocket knife.
And I got a pocket knife. A car comes, not handcuffed. I'm not handcuffed.
Right.
Car comes, hey, come, get in. And I don't understand what they're saying. Guy sits next to me. Another guy sits next to me. The other guy's smoking cigarettes. These guys are cruising the streets of Armenia. I'm like, fuck. I heard this jail sucks and it's disgusting.
Right.
Blah blah. So anyways, 20, 30 minutes later, they get a phone call and they pass me the phone. I'm speaking to somebody in English, and they said that a judge called. Blah blah blah. To pass the phone to the guy next to him, and the guy next to me goes, okay, got it. Boom, click. They stop in the street, open the door. There was other police officers there. They asked me to get out. The other police officers got in the car. They took off, and I'm just by myself in the street. I'm like, fuck, And then when I was a teenager...
Where was your pocket knife? Did they give it back to you?
Okay, so then they dropped me off there, and that was it. They took my pocket knife.
Okay.
The next day, to go back to that story, the next day, I'm like, fuck. And that was the day I was tired of the country. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So we canceled our flight because she wanted to stay longer. And I was like, I didn't want to fucking be here any longer. I just want to get the fuck. And that was the day I got arrested, but I didn't get arrested. And that's the day I went on a tour with the police, right?
Right.
So the next morning, I'm like, fuck, man, I can't wait. I just want to leave. I'm going to get some coffee, whatever the case is. A car rolls up to me. He goes, beep, beep, hey. And I'm like, now what? And some dude rolls up and hands me a paper bag, and I'm like, the fuck? And he peels off, and when I open it up, my knife's in there. And I'm like, fuck, well, thanks. I've had that knife forever, right? That like crazy shit, right?
That's wild.
And then the last one was when I was a teenager in TJ, you know, back when it was, you know, all the American, my brother was in the Navy. You know, a cop, you know, pulled me to the side. I got in a fight, whatever. Doesn't handcuff me, robs me, takes my chain and my money, but doesn't handcuff. And my point is
that's funny.
Do you think that from what I've seen police interactions with the public in other countries, it's I feel like it's not as aggressive as in America. In America, it's like if it gets to a certain point, it escalates pretty quick. And right, yeah, I could say, you know, put your hands behind your back, now you're handcuffed, you know, driving or whatever the case is. But I feel like that default is too aggressive. Why is it so aggressive?
Well, so the whole thing about, so as far as interacting with the public, so I can detain you, and that doesn't necessarily mean handcuffs. So if I say, hey, Roberto, listen, you're not free to leave. I need you to sit down over here. Whatever, you jaywalked. I'm going to write you a ticket.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't necessarily make you sit for that.
You know what? I got to tell you one more.
Yeah.
Because this is the recent one in the U.S.
All right.
So in the U.S., I was this was last year, a year and a half ago. I was renewing my passport, and I went to, there was a hold on my passport that I had to clear up, and I went and I cleared it up. Now I'm traveling the next day, or I'm traveling Saturday, and I was going every day to the federal building on Wilshire.
Right.
So I'm going, and I haven't told this story. I know the agent. They handcuffed me, and now we're best friends now, you know. But he's been waiting for me to tell the story. So, which we'll come back to that. So I'm going to the federal building almost every day. And they're like, nope, they're still holding your passport. They're still on a hold on your passport. I'm like, shit, man, like, what's going on? So anyways, Friday I get there, and I'm waiting, and I already had so many documents of, you know, stuff, and the release is going, you know, off my passport, this, that. So I just grabbed the bag, and I have all my documents with me, and I'm walking through, so I'm in and out. The line was crazy during that time. It was like 2-3 hours. So now I'm about to enter the building, and so, you know, guard says, hey, you're entering a federal building. Do you have any weapons of mass destruction? And I'm like, no, bro, I don't have anything, right? So as I walk through the scanner, I'm cool. The guy scans my bag, and he goes, beep, 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 beep. And he goes, what do you have in the bag? And I go, I don't have shit. I just grabbed a bag, you know, like whatever. Anyways, they grabbed my bag, and I had a buck knife, like a pocket knife, you know, like 3 inches, 2 3/4, and something like that. Not even, like, minimal. And they're all, bro, you shouldn't have brought this today. And I was like, what? We're under inspection. Put your hands behind your back. They get all the people, and they're like, everybody back up, back up. They make a huge scene. They fucking handcuff me for a small knife, right? Then they sit me in the patio. They sit me in the patio in front of everybody. They don't take me to a room. They sit me in the patio, and now I'm sitting there for like an hour and 45 minutes. And then my hat was like this. I was like, can you lift my hat up? They're like, sorry, bro, we can't do anything. I go, dude, I got to go to the bathroom. Like, sorry, bro, we can't do anything. And I was like, dude, my shoulder's fucking hurt. They're like, sorry, bro, we can't do it. I go, what are we waiting for? And they're like, Homeland Security. I go, Homeland Security, you know? And they're like, yeah, man, you know, you shouldn't have brought a knife. I go, bro, I swear to God, look at all the documentation. I've been here every day. I've seen you guys. Like, I had no idea. It was like thrown in the back pocket. And they're all, sorry, bro, whatever. Anyways, Homeland Security comes. This guy's like fired up. What? What's going on? He brought a knife, this, that. Oh, he's going to go to jail, this, that. And the other guy's like, the guy's like, we know, like, you know, I already kind of. So they calm him down. The guy looks at me and goes, I'm going to run your record. If anything pops up, you're going to federal prison. I'm like, fuck, bro, like for a thing. Anyways, runs my record, lets me go. And and then to continue the story, they're all, okay, we'll run you through. They run me through to check my passport. And when I finally got in, they're like, we're on West Coast time, or East Coast time. You know, it's the federal building. We're closed. So on Monday, check this out.
Dude.
So I missed my flight on Saturday. Monday, I show up early. I'm waiting in line. As I'm waiting in line, the security guard, one of the guards see me. They go, hey, what are you doing in line? I go, bro, I'm trying to get my passport. He goes, you don't have to wait in line, bro. You waited on Friday, man. Let me walk you through. I was like, oh, shit, that's cool, right? So he walks me through. They're like, hey, your passport's released. We're going to give you your passport. We're going to print it. It'll be like probably around 1 o'clock. We'll call you. And I was like, all right, cool. So I walk out. They're like, what happened? You get your passport? I go, no, not yet, not yet. They go, they said by 1 o'clock. They go, well, handle your shit, man. When they call you, come back. We'll get you back in. You ready for this? So I go up the 405. I get into Studio City where I live. I pull in. As soon as I walk into the house, what happens?
They call you?
They call me. Your passport's ready. Fuck, I got to go pick up my passport. Fuck it. Let me jump on the BMW, the R1250 GSA, right? I've never had an accident in 24 years.
Oh, no.
I'm going 405, boom, 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 marine layer, soaked, everything, dun, 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 dun. As I'm going down, I get on the right lane. On the on-ramp, a Tesla like accelerates on the on-ramp because the next exit's Wilshire. And then what I predict was his autopilot stopped because it was super abrupt braking. I mean, I had rain mode on, I have link braking, I have everything. The last thought in my fucking head was, why am I not stopping? Boom, flip over the fucking car, slide. Dude, you don't understand. I slide, and luckily, when I get up, I have nothing on me because it was marine layer. It was like super slippery, the floor. So I had no rips or nothing. Bike, $18,000 worth of damage, walk around. The insurance is like, the bike's fucking totaled. How are you? My shoulder was like a little hurt. I was like, I'm fine. The guy comes out, he goes, dude, I'm so sorry. A car pulled in front of me. I go, dude, like, just let me see your license and your insurance. I filmed the whole fucking thing. I film his car, I film everything. I go, can you give me a ride to the Wilshire building? It's the next exit. He goes, no, man, I'm late to work. I go, you fucking almost killed me, bro. He goes, yeah, bro, sorry. So he takes off. Anyways, I get my fucking passport and then I take a flight the next day. In that 16-hour flight, I was sore. I was sore. Bet. But my point is, detained in 3 different countries, car tours and everything, no handcuffs. Now in the Wilshire, very simple. It wasn't even past legal size. I swear, it was like 2.5. But the fact it was a federal building,
right.
You know, why that extreme? And then I understand the melting pot of like different religions and, you know, different beliefs.
Well, so let me say this. If you look at, and I can't remember the stats that we had at our department, but if you look at how many contacts police have with the public, it's astronomical. And if you look at how many of those don't result in a use of force, or how many arrests are made that don't result in a shooting or any use of force, statistically, you'd be pretty damn impressed. Like, right. I will say this. So before I get to your specific question, I will say this. When I became a cop, my primary impetus for being a law enforcement officer was because I wanted to affect human trafficking. Okay, my father and I were writing a screenplay. My dad was a screenwriter about human trafficking. And so I was doing research on it. I'm like, man, I was a cosmetic manufacturing executive at the time working down in LA. And I was like, I'd been doing that for like 10 years. And I thought, what am I really affecting, right, in life? I'm going to affect this human trafficking thing. But in the United States, there are grants for task forces. It's all law enforcement if you want to get your hands dirty. So I put in to be a cop. So that's why I got into law enforcement. And my thought about police officers at the time, because I didn't know any cops, my family weren't law enforcement, is that they were kind of like what TV portrays, kind of like a former linebacker, kind of rough around the edges, good Christian, a little judgy, pickup truck. Some of that's accurate. The pickup truck.
Dirt bikes in the garage.
Right. But I want to say like more brawn and less brain.
Right.
And once I became a cop, I realized, oh, wait a minute. You have to be able to not only think on your feet, you have to sort of be a psychologist because you got to know how to talk to people.
Right.
You've got to know how to apply the law. So you actually have to, like, when you talk to a DA, if you're going to get a case filed, you're talking about statutes and about all the components of a case or the components of a criminal statute. You got to know the law. Right. You have to be able to go into a court and articulate the law. And then you have to be able to explain in writing, in front of a court, in front of a jury, why you did what you did. On this date and time, I did X, Y, Z. Here's why I did what I did. Here's what I was thinking. Here's what I was feeling. Here's what I understood was happening. Here's what somebody told me. Your report writing skills have to be pretty damn good. So you have to know how to do all those things. And at the end of the day, I was like, wow. And you have to be able to fight and run and shoot. So you do need the football player, kind of, boxer, MMA guy. So the combination is a weird, and let's just also talk about, you're a first responder. So I need to know CPR. I need to have a tourniquet on me. I need to know how to stop the bleeding. I need to know how to get into the car because we don't want you to burn to death in your car accident. So think about that. Think about that individual person. Right. Fireman, badass street fighter, gun guy, so tactical kind of military dude, lawyer,
charismatic,
doctor, salesman, psychologist, report writer. All those things really need to be wrapped up into one individual to do the job fairly well, right? And also, don't be a shithead, right? So the rob, cheat, and steal side. And of course, time will tell if in that slippery slope, like you said, you were in Tijuana and the guy didn't put you in cuffs, but he took your shit.
Oh.
Right. So, and obviously nowadays, everything's kind of body-worn camera now, more or less. So what's funny is a lot of people thought, oh, you know what, we're going to catch cops doing bad shit. A lot of cops thought, man,
I was going to ask you too.
They thought, man, I don't want to wear that camera. I'm going to get in trouble. And it actually, in most cases, did just the opposite. Because it's not uncommon when you arrest some female for a DUI, she's going to say, he tried to rape me in the back of the car.
Right.
He said if I gave him a blowjob that he wouldn't arrest me and all that stuff. Well, then they're filing that report because they don't want to get their case filed, and all of a sudden, hey, everything that happened was captured on body-worn video. I watched it all.
Right.
Oh, it was? Yeah. Okay, well, never mind.
I wonder how many people that make up those lies actually believe in the lie also.
I don't know that they believe in the lie, but I think maybe it worked.
Well, they imagined, whatever.
I think they believe in the power of the lie. I don't know if they actually are suddenly, wait a minute, I was drinking and driving. I just got arrested. I think he just put me in the back of the car and raped me. There are benefits to lying in some cases, unless it's documented, and we can all watch the tail of the tape, right?
Right.
But I'll just say that I think by and large, in my experience, so I gave police officers more credit than I originally did when I realized, and that's the other thing. Here's the other deal too is, and I'm not sitting here to be like a public service announcement. All cops are great.
No.
There are plenty of shithead cops.
Quinn is the most legit fucking person. You call it how it is. You're not going to fluff anything up.
But I will tell you, by and large, so I was a sex crimes detective. You will not, I know this, you will not ever watch a show or hear a story about the real, true, deep shit that happens, because it's just so fucked up, so demented.
That a TV show explaining what actually happens?
When you watch TV about what it's like to be a cop, or whether it's Special Victims Unit, they like, that's kindergarten shit. And that's not to say that's not hard stuff to do. And what I'm talking about is like, we did the serious stuff. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. All Special Victims Units, all detectives that handle things, I'm just saying, that are so depraved, so fucking evil and dark, that really happen in the world, that a lot of people, honest to God, like sort of lose hope in humanity. There's some horrible shit that goes on in the world. Yeah. So I say that only to mean that that's a very specific sort of scary corner of life. But if you rode along for a year every day on a patrol shift and just paid attention, I think you'd be pretty surprised at how fucked up situations are. Keep in mind, police aren't hired to go find all the good people. They're not, hey, listen, here's what I need you to do. Go around and high five all the kids at the park and give thumbs up and let everybody speed. Okay?
We should start a new branch.
Let's go make friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Don't ever pull your gun out. Don't tell anybody that they're doing anything wrong. Actually, you're going to go out there and you're going to go to a family disturbance. And when you walk in, you're going to see 8 people. You're going to see blood all over the walls, knives out, broken dishes, people that need medical attention, and it's going to be fucking chaos. And you won't be able to speak their language, whatever it is. Go. Good luck. So you're going to see some weird shit. Here's an old couple that was just driving down the road, and Herb's right foot got stuck full throttle, and he just crashed into that bus at 130 miles an hour on the street, and his guts is everywhere, and Doris is 70 yards down the street. Go handle that, okay? So, and I'm not telling you this from the standpoint of police deal with bad things. What I'm saying is, when we talk about all the things that happen in the world every day, all the time, it's such a weird, massive, confusing, and complex scenario that overall, I think when we talk about all those things you need to even be able to get through that day, by and large, I am fucking impressed with the 27-year-old guy that shows up and does that job. Like, take a decent sized city. Let's just take LA. And I didn't work LAPD, but I had friends that did. You start your shift, and there's a computer screen, and you've got calls pending. All right? So, okay, Roberto, welcome. You got 50 calls pending.
Fuck.
Okay? And when you finish your shift, there's still 50 calls pending for the next guy that gets your car. You pull all your shit out after 12 hours. He's got to put all his stuff in and dive into that list of 50 calls. And in the meantime, if you see something, depending on what the next call is, you'll jump on it. You know, if it's some crazy, it's an accident or a pedestrian gets hit or like something serious, you're right. There's a mall shooting, you're going to jump it if you're right.
Right.
So there are times to jump into those things, but by and large, if all I do is groom Cocker Spaniels,
right.
That's all I do in my dog grooming business. How many dog bites have I had? Well, I've had 7 this year. What kind of dogs? Well, they were all fucking Cocker Spaniels. Cocker Spaniels are bad.
Right.
You know? No, they're not fucking bad, but that's all I deal with is Cocker fucking Spaniels, right? So in my community, all the uses of force I've ever had were with white dudes.
Right.
You know? But it was a behavior-based thing, right?
Right.
So
yeah, that's what you have to judge.
Yeah.
And you already touched bases on this, but on the cameras that the police officers had to wear,
yeah,
it is interesting because that was, that's what I thought. I thought, like, fuck, is this to protect the public or is this to protect the police officers?
I think it's for everything.
But it is for everything. But what percentage would you say has it benefited the cops the way you have?
Well, here's the thing. So I would say it benefits me as a cop way more than it benefits the public because, again, in my experience, by and large, there's already so many safeguards and so many requirements for the police officer as far as the way because you got to remember too, everything that I do, my car has a computer in it, right? But everywhere that car is, the department knows where I am all the time. They know where I am. So if I don't chime in, like if I'm on a call, say they send me something, if I don't chime in a few minutes, they're going to ask me for my status.
Right.
Because if my car's there, but I don't put myself there, they're going to be like, hey, are you there? Are you 1097? So I'm not alone ever. So we're looking out for each other, which also means we're checking in on each other. So you're not really autonomous to go run amok.
Right.
Now, so that being said, the body-worn camera has not exposed or captured bad behavior by and large because that shit gets caught pretty quick anyways. I have not met any cops, and I know there's that idea that we protect our own. Fuck you. If you're going to jeopardize my livelihood and make me look bad and make me lose my job, fuck you, dude. You're on your own.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get arrested and you're doing bad shit, good luck. I've got a kid to feed, to put through school, to get through volleyball. I don't have time for your bullshit. You know, that's not going to help
your
me.
Ego, your
whatever,
fucking, yeah,
that,
whatever.
or you doing illegal shit.
Your pride, yeah, exactly.
You know, or you putting me on a text thread saying negative shit about people or racial shit. Any of that stuff. I don't want to get any of that shit on me. Get that you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not alone. Cops do not tolerate that shit because departments can't afford for that shit to happen. Everything's
being
capturable.
watched and captured,
everything's being watched. So now you add body worn, and now when in my report I say Roberto was being hostile and he told me to go fuck myself and he was going to stab me. Well, did that happen or did it not happen? Because Roberto and his buddy Ron that was there said that you didn't say that. Now it's 2 against 1. Right. And even though I'm a cop, I'll lose that. So now I got body worn. I walked in, boom. And now, in fact, I've had cases, for example, where I had to use force, but they heard me trying to de-escalate, trying to do this, trying, over and over and over again, you know, going through and I don't have to, but going through, you know, like I tased somebody, but first I tried to just use voice, tried to calm them down, then I put my hands on them, then we got into taser, and then it grew from there.
Right.
And it did not get into a shooting, but point being, I don't have to tell you, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. Watch the video, man. It's all right there. Yeah. So from like let's say I roll up on you for a DUI and I smell alcohol. I check your eyes, it's all in the camera. And I can see when I get nystagmus, like early onset, I can see your eyes starting to bounce around. I get you out. Instead of saying on step number 6 of the 9-step walk and turn, he stepped offline, it's all captured right there. Yeah. So now talk is cheap, you know? Maybe you don't trust the cops, but watch the video.
Watch the video.
Listen to what they said, you know?
Question. I heard that they're considering taking away eyewitness testimonials away from the court systems because they're so flawed and people, the way people, like you were talking about, the way people, you have 3 different people and they describe a situation, it has nothing to do with nothing. It's so fucking random.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You know, when you put somebody in in like a high stakes situation, you know, and they get amped up, there's a lot of sort of the psychological component that plays a role. And there's a lot of math that, you know, and a lot of science behind what you do remember, what you don't remember, or how your brain connects things that isn't actually accurate to what happened. It was an orange car. It turns out it was a blue car, you know. So in some capacity, I would say, sure, that would make sense. Or that absent any other evidence, that won't hold up. Right. Just having expert, you know, is it expert testimony you're saying?
No,
just testimony.
Eyewitness testimony.
Eyewitness, okay.
Yeah, just somebody like, I saw it, you know, I was hiding behind the car. It's like, well, you were hiding behind the car.
I think in some cases, though, you depending on the type of case that it is, you have very specific and accurate witness descriptions of things, you know? Right. You know, Rob owns a hair studio and he's cutting hair, and every day he sees this thing and he watches and he sees something that's a little out of, you know what I mean? And suddenly this thing happens, and because it's unusual, he really keys in on it, and he gives you, I'm blown away with some of the witness their ability to give me specific details, and, you know, that's corroborated when maybe I find video or something. Right. Like, man, they really knew what they saw, because there's some things maybe that are really arbitrary, like, you know, like a car flying the other way. Well, what kind of car was that? Fuck, I don't know. But now you see something in your neighbor's driveway, and you see a car you've never seen before. You're like, oh, it was like a tan El Camino, and it had yellow marks. And I remember by the gas cap, which was on the driver's side, because I've never seen that. It was, you know, it was different. It was unusual. Right. So those types of things, I think, do exist and will continue to exist. So to say they would get rid of that,
I guess they're trying to filter things out. Capturing, how you were talking about getting stuck in threads, or people, you know, friends starting threads and they put you in it. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. What do you think about that? Because you have your daughter. I have my boys. What do you think about this whole social media thing where it's like kids can post things as young teenagers, as middle teenagers, and as young adults, and you're not fucking all there. You're a kid. You're doing whatever, whatever. For example, somebody can, election comes up and be like, my president won, and now you're posting about that, and now 10 years from now, people are gonna be like, hey, on your social media post, you had this, you had that, you had that. Do you think that's an appropriate way to, I mean, it's not that if it's appropriate or not, it's gonna happen one way or another.
Well, I think we're talking about two different things. If you're talking about, social media and my 11-year-old daughter.
What she's posting now, how that can reflect her.
Oh, how
15 years from now.
Yeah.
Because, she could be 11 years old and say, you know what, I fucking hate yellow motorcycles, because yellow motorcycles, my dad's always ridden a yellow motorcycle, and I fucking can't stand that yellow motorcycle, and he has a picture of it instead of a picture of me, whatever. But now it's like, how does that affect us? Because whatever you did as a child, whatever I did as a child,
it's gone.
It's gone, you know? And I could say many cases like, oh, thank goodness, because there's, 15, 16 years old, drinking.
And you hear that with a lot of athletes. They're like, man, if that was still around, I would have been fired, or, or actors, or, whatever it was.
Right.
Musicians, like, you can't get away with that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think, and I'm not a huge tech guy by any stretch, but I think that you're going to see in the next...
all these old motorcycles, of course, and I could tell.
Hopefully not, right? But in the next 10 years, 20 years, I think you're going to have a culture of this wave of young people that grew up with it all, and it probably won't carry as much weight as it, just like, as an example, and I don't mean to berate police, but 75 years ago, if a cop said you did X, Y, and Z, they took it, that was it, right? It was gospel.
It was the law, yeah.
Now, okay, well, prove it. Well, so there's not as much weight in the word from a police officer, right? And I think in the same way, when somebody reflects on somebody's social media post, it's a bigger deal today, say, than it will be in 20 years.
Right.
When there's just so much more noise, than there is now. There's gonna have to be some way to calibrate it so that there is a meaningful or more valuable weight in the message from here versus here. You know what I mean? Like, is somebody just screaming and pissing and moaning like your kid says something here versus some sort of more official statements? I don't know. But I think it'll have less and less weight as more and more people see that it's just silliness.
Did you ever see a Minority Report?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Do you think that's going to happen?
I mean, that means we have really good psychics.
Right.
And that doesn't exist just yet.
But you don't think with the the searching and the somebody grabs a phone, they're like, how do I get rid of a body, and what kind of paper should I do, like. Well,
I mean, Minority Report
what was predicting.
Yeah, the precognition characters could say this person's going to commit this crime on this date and time. The little red ball would come out.
Right.
And it would give the date and time and location.
Right.
And then they would prejudge them
and
go and apprehend them before they committed a crime. So there's no crime in the world. So, I don't know. And I mean, this stuff, granted AI, blah, blah, blah.
Because this shit didn't even exist when that came out.
Right.
And now it's like, fuck, like, the algorithms, what was that? Netflix documentary, The Social Experience or Social something, where they were talking about how big tech is creating an avatar version of you.
Oh,
and they based off what you like, what you follow, what you watch, what you read, and the reason. Remember what they're doing with the avatar for?
No.
They were creating this avatar of your personality, and then they were in the digital world. They would show the avatar like the new iPhone. What would this avatar do? And the avatar would be like, yeah, I want this. And they'd be like, oh, perfect. Let's fucking, launch his whole social platform with the new iPhone. New motorcycle, oh, I'm not interested. Oh, new product glasses. Yeah, the avatar grabbed it. So they're trying to make this perfect avatar of you to see what you would respond to, and imagine that into the crime world, Like, it's getting crazy. Like, another one another one that's crazy is the 23andMe. You know the 23andMe?
Yeah.
You heard what's going on with that now?
What's that?
Now they're saying that now they're getting all these DNAs and all these, people's records, and now they're testing it with like diseases cures. And basically what the master plan for this in 10, 15 years is they'll be like, hey, in your family's genetics, you have this, that. You're going to develop this, that. We created a cure for a subscription price of that. And they'll be able to sell you stuff before you even get stuff. Or they'll be able to get you sick, so you'll need stuff to get, like, it's fucking...
Yeah.
I don't know. That, again...
It depends on what side of...
the coin
you sit, if you're a conspiracy theorist...
I just find it all interesting,
No, that's super interesting, because, I mean, at its base, you could say, if we could find these predictors, then we could solve problems. It's sort of like a smoke detector. You could argue, right?
Right.
That thing smells a little smoke. It's even better than that, but
right.
Before the house is on fire, we can put it out.
We can take the kids out.
Like somebody was talking about, and I don't know if that in the future, your toilet, every time you take a leak in the morning, it will be able to test you for all kinds of things and tell you how you're doing. So your toilet will be your doctor.
Yeah. Your hydration.
Yeah, your hydration.
Water,
it'll check your feces. It'll tell you fucking everything about how you're doing and what kind of vitamins, minerals, hydration, but like early onset cancers, things that they
kidneys, whatever the
everything. Yeah, it'll tell you everything about you just from your taking a leak and having a bowel movement every day.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah. So, but however you want to look at that, you could say, well, that means they're going to, you used the word subscription. So implying, though, that they're going to cure you until you can't pay anymore. Or they take care of you in some other way and it's a permanent fix. I mean, I would say if you look at the cost of medical, it's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I think, I have Kaiser. Kaiser's my medical provider. And I would say, and, I'm sure, listen, everybody's mileage will vary, right? Some people hate them, some people love them, whatever. And had good and bad experiences. But I will say, by and large, one thing with Kaiser that I've noticed is it feels like, anyways, they're pretty motivated with staying healthy, like not trying to make me sick to sell me something or keep me sick, like, big pharma kind of vibe, where, hey, we just want to keep medicating you. There's no money in cures, really. Right. I had a buddy who was a hairstylist, right? And we'd go to I was in the cosmetic business. And I was like, how come they take these beautiful girls with long hair and cut their hair to shit really short? And trust me, some girls look beautiful with short hair too. And they'd color their hair, but like, a girl with long brown hair, now she's got bleached blonde short hair. And I'm like, well, she looks different. She's still pretty, but she looked great before. And he's like, dude, there's no fucking money in long hair. I go, what do you mean? He goes, right now, she's got to go get her hair colored every 2 fucking weeks. She's got to get a trim every 2-3 weeks. I just created a revenue stream for me with this client now. Long hair, what am I going to do? See her every 4 months to snip the ends? There's no fucking money. So, and I thought, God, that's kind of a telling statement. It wasn't about making her prettier.
Right.
And granted, if she came in and said, hey, I want short blonde hair, done, I can do it for you. But he was proactively motivated to give you whatever would make him more money. And that ain't long hair. So in the same way, creating a cure is not a money maker as much as creating a maintenance or something. So that you mentioned that subscription thing, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I do feel like, at least Kaiser anyways, who I don't think they're necessarily making money with big pharma. They don't want me to remain sick. I don't think that makes them money that I'm perpetually ill. So I do feel like there's someone like, hey, proactively get out and be healthy, or lifestyle and all that. So.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. We were talking about battery cutoff. We were talking about the mental health and your opinion. And then after that, close that up. And then after that, I'm going to go and just ask you quick questions and just answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know that mental health is truly the monster, or has marketing made it the monster? I heard an interesting stat from somebody that said shootings are down, but the coverage of shootings are up 300%.
Shootings are down, but the coverage of shooting is up.
Yeah. So the narrative.
Right. But rapid questions.
Yeah.
Just answer first that comes to your head. Favorite motorcycle movie?
You know what's funny? Shit. Hold on. Let me think. So what was it? The Bike Riders.
Bike Riders.
The recent one
with Tom Hardy. Yeah.
I actually like that because it's not really a motorcycle. If you're going to make a motorcycle movie, then it's about motorcycles, and as a motorcycle rider, I'm going to scrutinize every little fucking thing. But that one with Tom Hardy, the backdrop was motorcycles, and I just thought they did it was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
You know,
great actors.
Yeah, good, obviously great actors.
Nice story.
But that's one of that's one of the best motorcycle movies I've seen as far as being made as it wrapped around motorcycles. That being said, when I was a kid, the movie I had to go see was Megaforce.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a good one. Megaforce, and I don't know if Chuck Norris was in that, but they were this like futuristic, desert military force, and they were riding. I think
Mad
they were
Max kind of deal, but
sort of. But they were more Flash Gordon-y, badass, and they rode dirt bikes in the desert, and they would shoot rockets out and stuff. It's horrible, but you should see it just because it's of a certain, I'm of a certain age, and I was a little kid, and I was like, oh, it's a motorcycle movie? I liked everything motorcycle, so I had to see Megaforce.
Okay. Favorite police movie?
Favorite police movie?
Oh, cop movie. Sorry, cop movie.
Cop movie?
Oh.
Gosh, I don't... Maybe Fargo?
Fargo? Because
any movie that's really a cop movie, I feel like, I don't want to say gets it wrong, but the level of lack of, how do I put this? Reality versus what they're allowed to show you would just offend everybody and make everybody uncomfortable, I think. So like anyone that's really a cop would be there are aspects of, like what was it? Colors? Was it Colors?
Yeah, Colors.
Early with 90s. Robert Duvall and Sean Penn. There were aspects of that I thought were great. Or Training Day.
I was going to say
awesome.
Training Day fucking.
But it was a great movie. But I don't think really, I don't know that. I mean, and maybe there's some gangland LA detective dudes that work dope that are like, fuck yeah, that's how it was. Yeah. So I can't speak to that. But in my experience, those movies don't resonate quite as much for me.
What about, which is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably the movie that I've seen the most, but LA Confidential. What do you think of that?
I loved the movie.
But it was too much of a movie.
Yeah, but I loved it. But I didn't see it really as a cop movie.
What about a detective movie?
Yeah, right. A detective movie? No, I don't know. I couldn't, yeah.
And then, since the man cave thing going on, favorite drink? Do you drink? You drink occasionally.
I drink, but I'm just a beer drinker.
You're a beer drinker.
I mean, when I was drinking a lot more,
typical cop.
It was vodka sodas.
Vodka sodas.
Vodka sodas with lime. They were easy. But I was in sales and marketing for years, so I had to take clients out. Yeah. But what I always do everywhere I went is because a lot of people may not know this, but when you're in a sales exec, you're doing a lot of deals in the alleyways behind a strip club after you get your buyers drunk off their ass. Yeah. You leave a bar and they're like, fine, fuck you, what do you want me to take? Right. So I would drink rum and cokes in a tub glass, and since I was paying, I would explain to the waitress, listen, I'm going to get rum and cokes every time I order one or anyone orders me a rum and coke. Bring me a Diet Coke in a tub glass. Charge me for a rum and coke. I want it to say rum and coke, but make me a Diet Coke. And then I could fake that I was manning up drinking that. And by the end of the night, when we've all had 8, 9 drinks and everyone's sloshed, I'm fucking sober and I'm working my deal. So And so anyways, that was my little, so rum and Coke was my go-to also.
Yeah.
I love an ice cold beer after a workout. I love it.
After a workout.
Yeah, it's like, I really feel like I earned it. You know what I mean? And I'm just hammered and just have a beer, and it's, you know, it's great.
Yeah. Last thing, one fun fact and message you want to give out, just for shits and giggles.
If there are any cops listening to this, retire sooner than later. I heard somebody say once you should have 3 careers in your life, because at the end of the day, all you have is what you did and what you do, and then you die, and you can't take any of this shit with you. So you got to pay, you got to pay your bills, you got to live your life, but retiring from, and I was a cosmetic guy, and then I got into law enforcement, totally unrelated, and now I'm doing really pure motorcycle stuff. Getting to discover and explore new things along the journey as I get older has been just a really cool thing. And you start to learn, like it's really about discovering new things and exploring. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So if we bump into each other, that's where my brain will be at, is continuing to move down the river and see what the hell's down around the next bend. So
that's awesome. Quinn, you're blessed.
Hey, brother. It's good seeing you, man. Absolutely. It's been too damn long.
Yeah, I told you, I'm putting it on camera. I'm documenting this. I want to do the cones. I feel I can do the cone.
All right.
I was going to ask you last time, but my pipe was burnt with rubber.
That's right. That's right. She burned her shoe. Did she ever keep those or just toss them?
Oh, there's no way. And those things were long gone.
Yeah.
Those things were long gone.
Well, you know what? I do go down to LA quite a bit and train with a motor down there, motor cop. So we could maybe coordinate that.
Yeah,
and we'll have you down.
Oh, I could bring cameras, record it, get some more content. Try it out.
Let's do that.
So we'll do that.
All
Absolutely.
Right. Cool.
Thank you, man.
All right, brother.